What's up, guys? This is Chad at All Dogs Off-Road, and today we're going to be doing a behind the build on my 2022 Nissan Frontier Pro 4X. Kyle and I had done a video a little over a year ago, kind of like an update build, and this is going to be similar to that, but it's going to be a little bit more in-depth. My 22 Frontier has gone through quite the evolution since I got it a couple of years ago. It started out base stock with your Bilstein 4600 shocks, and that lasted about a week before we put a Koni 82 series lift kit on it, which rode fantastic. I paired that with Kenda RT 33 by 10.5 R17s, and we ran that suspension for a little while, I think about 3 months if I remember correctly, and then we started the process of prototyping for Titan swap on 3rd gen Frontiers. But that went through some trial and error process, and in our second attempt the truck was Titan swapped and the concept was proved, and I put, I think, just under a year and a half on the Titan swap before we took that off. We have another video that goes through taking the Titan swap off of this truck and going back to a Koni 82 series setup. The truck as it sits right now is not running the Koni 82 series shocks. I'm currently on some prototype ADS racing shocks front and rear with our parabolic leaf springs, and I'm running our RB6 17-inch wheels with 255/80 R17 Falcon AT4Ws. We've got a really nice piece of kit on the back of the truck now that you probably haven't seen. This is, I think, our first video that we'll be showing off a Super Pacific camper, which I had installed, I think, in July of last year. It was right before Overland Expo PNW, if I remember correctly. So we're going to start with the front of the vehicle. We're currently running ADS 2.5 remote res coilovers up front here. They've got a 550-pound coil. We're running our ADO RB6 wheels in a 17-inch, and they're paired with Falcon Wild Peaks AT4Ws in a 255/80 17, which is kind of like a skinny 33, which I prefer. We've got a sphere skid plates for underside protection. We're running our All Dogs high clearance upper control arms, and then I've got some Baja Designs ditch lights with CBI brackets, but the Baja Designs will probably get changed out for diode dynamics here in the near future. Not much has happened under the hood, but we do have a couple goodies. We have an AFE cold air intake that we recently installed and did a video on, and also I've got a J&L oil catch can or oil separator for preventing oil from running through the intake and then caking onto your valves and building up carbon. Other than that, just a relay for the ditch lights, and for the most part she's bone stock. I'm really happy with the AFE intake. I don't notice a huge increase in power. It does have a nice sound to it, and I think that I might be getting a little bit better fuel mileage, but we'll see with some highway driving that'll be coming up later this summer. Going to the side of the vehicle, I've currently got a Rain outdoor 90-degree awning. I like them quite a bit just because it's a simple pull straight back. You don't have to worry about like a 180 or 270 where you have to wrap all the way around, which is fairly important for being able to open up the hatches for my Super Pacific camper. At the suspension, I'm running our parabolic leaf springs and also ADS 2.5 remote resi rear shocks. On the other side of the truck is where I have my WeBoost Overland antenna mounted, and it's running down and through a vent in the back of the cab here in order to feed into the cab of the truck. I'm really happy with that WeBoost. It's really fantastic when I'm driving out west where I would typically not have cell phone coverage. It's pretty fantastic. Now moving to the back of the truck, what you see here is a Super Pacific camper. This is kind of an intro even for the camper. I don't think we've filmed much video of it, but this is probably one of the best camper setups on the market, and it's produced by Super Pacific USA out of Portland, Oregon. It is an all aluminum design, and the entire body of it, which they will call the fuselage, is constructed basically like an airplane. It's entirely riveted together. There's no welding introduced into the aluminum here, which can lead to brittleness and eventually cracking or failure. They have very fine attention to detail, and it is by far my favorite adult purchase that I've ever made. It's also the most expensive that I've ever made, but the number of nights that I put in it and will continue to put in it will easily justify the cost for me. It's just absolutely fantastic. Because the guys are out of Portland, Oregon, up in the PNW, they're very conscious of water intrusion, so there's a lot of weather stripping and gaskets and seals, so that you get no water entry. And then up top there are actually vents that reduce condensation. It's just incredibly well thought out and designed. Aside from the camper, my back setup here is very minimal. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to do like a full bed build out with chairs and seats and stuff. I really like a modular design, being able to pull things out when I need to. And I also come from a backpacking background, so I like to keep things lightweight and simple when and where I can. So for instance, I don't carry a propane stove or pots and pans and that sort of thing when I'm out overlanding or camping. I'll typically just bring a jet boil and some freeze-dried food. I really like peak fuel right now. Otherwise, I've got a Jackery 1000 battery bank that's hooked up to a 100 watt Renogy solar panel that I have 3M taped to the roof of the camper. You can't really see it now because I've hidden the wiring, but wiring runs through the front of the camper and then through the framing and the fuselage here down to the battery bank, and all it's really powering at the moment, besides devices like my cell phone or laptop or whatever, if I'm working remotely, is this Dometic fridge that I've got here. Aside from all that, I've got some leveling blocks here for leveling the truck up. Typically when you camp, you know, the truck sits at a rake and you don't really want to be sleeping at a slant, so you use these fancy little blocks, you drive up on them, and they're almost like Legos. And you can stack them or make little steps out of them to get yourself, you know, kind of where you want to be so that you can sleep comfortably. Aside from that, I've got a Plano case that was given to me by my friend Sarita a long time back, and that's where I keep most of my camping supplies. And that just pulls out nice and easy. And again, like I said, I like modular, so I wouldn't ever build drawers in here. You know, it's going to take away space in a 5.5 foot bed, which is already pretty minimal. So this just pulls out. I'll typically drop it down. And then right here we got Huckleberry's bed. So that's about it. Aside from the rain awning that I have, I do have a couple of Kelty awnings. They're almost like tents that put together and just kind of hang off the side. I really like the Kelty awnings quite a bit, and maybe we'll do a video on one of those someday. Why don't you come on in? So now that we're in the camper, you can see it's got mesh netting to keep bugs out, 3 sides. These panels are really nice heavy-duty nylon canvas, and I'd mentioned vents just a little bit ago. I'll see if we can pop one for you. There's 3 of them, 1 on each side here. Plenty of ventilation, minimizes condensation, which if you ever camped in a tent before, or even a rooftop tent, condensation sucks. So that's a pretty fantastic little detail. Right behind me there is a gear stash here, so you can put like an iPad, your cell phone. I don't even run string lights or anything in my campers. I've got a couple of solar lights that I like to hang, and there's a clip here, so I've got like my nice little lantern here to give me some light at night. As far as mattress goes, the Super Pacifics come with X-Ped mattresses, which compress down to about 1 inch, but then inflate up to about 4 inches. And it's probably the most comfortable mattresses I've ever slept on. It's more comfortable than my mattress at home. It's got a little pump that's in one of my storage pouches over there, so it inflates up, and then when you're done you deflate it, and then you can close the camper. Aside from that, for sleeping setup, I have a Hest pillow, which is in the truck right now, and then I'm a big fan of Kelty gear, so I've got a Kelty Supernova 20-degree bag as well. So that's pretty much my camping setup as far as I can recall to run down. So in a nutshell, that's my build for 2024. It's never going to be in its final stages because there's always R&D that needs to be done. So, and down the road here, I may be changing things up. This truck has really been put through the ringer. Besides the 4 different suspensions that have been on it, it's already been re-geared, and there's a long story to that. I re-geared it to 4.08s for prototyping on our new ring and pinions that just recently came out. Right now it's back to 369s. I ended up grenading my rear diff. I had an Eaton True Track that failed on a drive from Virginia back to Lincoln, Nebraska, so I basically had to put it in 4-wheel drive and drive front-wheel drive the whole way home. We'll save that story for another day. I'm really happy with this truck, and I'm really happy with this build. There's still maybe a couple things I might change, maybe a little bit firmer coil spring right up front to match the parabolics in the rear. So maybe stepping up to a 600 pound, maybe that'll happen in the fall. I put a ton of trips on this vehicle. We've been out to Colorado, we've been out to Nevada just recently. You probably saw a bunch of dust in the bed that still hasn't come out. It's basically been all over the country, and it's probably the hardest working third gen Frontier. Thank you for checking in and watching this behind the build. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to ask them. We're always happy to be responsive and help wherever we can.